The grinder, you, the individual, the person that you are inside will determine the outcome, whatever you're going to do in your life. So you must continue to grind harder. You must continue to find a way and make a way out of no way. Don't wait for a handout. Don't wait for someone to tell you to do it. Do it because you need to do it. Do it because it must be done. There are going to be all kinds of challenges that we all must face. You cannot live in this world without a challenge. You cannot live in this world without a struggle. Because with every struggle that you have been through, it will help you to be stronger. But you cannot give up. Don't be afraid of the hard work. Don't be afraid to grind a little bit harder. Don't be afraid to sweat a little bit. It's okay, man. This ain't the time to be sitting up there feeling sorry. This ain't the time to be saying you don't have what it takes. So if you get some setbacks, embrace them. Sure, every day is not going to be a good day for you. Every day is not going to always happen for you. But it's always something happening. But you got to make it happen for the right reasons. For every day of your life, you must continue to believe in yourself. For every day of your life, you must have enough faith and understanding that it's up to you to make that difference count. So continue to grind. Grind with everything you got. Be strong every day of your life. No matter what comes your way, keep grinding.
Man, it's so tough, because I remember when I was young and I didn't have my father, right, in the household. And we became cool. And I remember I used to live my life and I had it was like a resentment toward him, right? Because I couldn't understand why he wasn't there early on. I just couldn't understand it, right? And when I would be home and we would experience certain things, and me and my cousins would be asleep on the floor, right? And there were certain questions and things at times that I wanted to ask my father, and because he wasn't in the household, I couldn't ask him. So it created a resentment until one day I just asked. We were together and, I just asked man, what happened? And he just shared with me what happened, right? I was young, your mother was young, right? I ended up losing my mother, right? And I was just scared, right? And when he told me this situation, I could understand it, right? And for most people, it's forgiveness is the hardest thing in the world. And when you see a son, when you see him coming up with his mother, or you see a father that's not present, a lot of times for me, I think now, man, what's that situation? And I want to understand it, right? Because I firmly believe, as tough as the situation is, my teacher said this to me. My teacher, who's my mentor, my 8th grade teacher. He said to me one day when I was in the 8th grade, because we was talking about fatherhood and stuff like that, and some of my friends, they were talking about their fathers. We were just having a man conversation. And one of my friends said, man, my father don't care about me. He don't want me, right? I'm in the world, I don't see him, right? And my teacher said to him, son, I don't think any man brings a kid into this world and don't think about him and don't love him and don't want him. And the kid was like, no, man, that's wrong, right? He was like, I'm a man, I'm a father, I'm a husband, right? And when he said it, at the time I was young and I was like, I don't know. But now that I'm a father, right? I got 2 kids, or I got 3 little sisters, right? And it's this thing inside of me that makes me think it was true. It was real. But situations and circumstances happen sometimes that we can't understand, and it leaves a mother in the household, or sometimes it leaves a father to be a single father, right? And when that happens, I think the village is important. It's like me, I got a level of accountability and responsibility with my son, right? If my son plays on a team, right, and his kids on that team, that their fathers are not present, I feel like I have a responsibility and obligation not to be their father, right, but to fill a void, to be a positive male figure in that kid's life as much as possible, and not just look at the kid and see him drowning, and just be like, that's not my kid, I'll just let him drown, right? No, he's very much so my kid, right? Because God has put me here to be present in this kid's presence, so I'm gonna help him, right? And so it's just becoming a village around that mother or around that father to assist as much as possible to help that kid be shaped and molded in the right way, with principles.
Because we live in a society where mediocrity is often rewarded. And you look down at the 22 men, and he says something about basically you all detest mediocrity. And he goes on to talk about this mediocrity and shit. And I just sat back and I said, God, man, I want to be like these motherfuckers. I want to feel, because now I was projecting myself in those chairs. I want to, how do y'all feel like right now? And I want to feel like you do. You 22 men, I want to feel like that, man. I said, I'm tired of feeling the way I feel every day. I'm tired of how I feel. I'm tired of lying to myself, lying to people, and being some piece of shit. And I always knew in the back of my mind, I could be something special, but I knew the work it was going to take was going to kill me. I was afraid of that. I was afraid of the brutality and the suffering I was going to have to endure. But I knew I could do something. But I'm like, I ain't trying to do that kind of work, man. I'm just not trying to do that. So I chose the path of least resistance. So now my idea is, it became so haunting and daunting on me, myself, that I said, I'm done. Fucking done. You're fighting, we all have two people. We all have two people. And I'm not saying you're crazy. We have the easy voice, which is that 20% telling yourself that I'm easy at 90% of my full potential, maybe 100% at that 20%. That's that voice that we all love. That's that very comfortable voice that's that mommy holding you saying it's going to be okay. Doesn't care how good you are, just loves you. Just loves you no matter how messed up you are in life. That's where you want to be at. So that's that one voice. This other voice that we walk very far away from is a voice saying, hey man, you ain't doing shit. So we try to get this voice out of our head completely. And we live over here in this lane. So what you have to do first is turn up this voice over here. The voice saying things to you that aren't nice. That it's in our head saying, you know what, man, dude, you're not doing shit. You're not and it's not putting yourself down. People take this the wrong way in this new society. I'm not saying to put yourself down. I'm saying listen to the truth.
Losing, sometimes it will happen. But when you lose, make sure you lose the right way. Humble yourself when you lose. Don't be angry, because we gotta lose sometimes. Sometimes you may not understand why you're losing, but you will lose. You will fail. But if you're gonna fail the right way. If you're gonna lose the right way. Make sure they remember you. Make sure anything that's coming after you remembers you. They know that, man, I don't want to meet that person again. I don't want to have to fight that person again. I don't want to have to encounter that person again, because of the heart and the will that you had within yourself. Don't submit. Don't give up. Fight through it. Push through it. If you're going to lose the right way.
Good. So number one, listen to me. Don't write this down. It's not a principle. Listen quickly. I'll give you the first principle. Number one, this is not the principle. It's going to be a dogfight. I would love to tell you that on the road to success, everything is going to work out. It's not. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight. For those of you watching my videos, on the road to success, I lost 5 aunts to cancer. It's a dogfight. In the midst of my business, I lost aunts. I had to go to funerals. We had to get on a plane. We had to drive. We had aunts that are close to my age who died, who didn't have insurance. We had to raise money, a dog fight. I had cousins shot in stores, execution style, shot back of the head twice. It's a dog fight. Like, you don't see that on YouTube. You don't see that on my TGI. It's a dog fight.
Do you understand what that means? Or are you gonna just give in? And then when you lose, you're feeling sorry for yourself. You feel that you're not worthy anymore. You feel like everybody's gonna talk about you. No, it's not about the people. It's about you. It's about understanding you. All my life, I've been pushing myself. All my life, I've been digging. All my life, I've been going. All my life, I've been thriving. And yes, I've been knocked down. Yes, I've been pushed aside. Yes, I've been rejected. But I kept going. I kept pushing. I kept believing in myself. I'm not saying that you got to be like me. You and me are two different people. You and me don't necessarily connect on everything, but you got to connect to something. You got to believe in something. You got to understand that it's going to take more grit and more will when it comes to what it is that you are seeking in your life.
My wife, 3 years ago, 7 legions found on her brain. It's a dog fight. It hasn't been easy. It's a dog fight. The road hadn't been success. Like, it's just a paved road, and like E.T. go this way. It's been rough. It's been crooked. It's been hard. But I've made up in my mind that I will get a reward for the pain that I go through. I will not stop in the middle of the process. I will not be defeated. I will not be destroyed. I will take everything that happens in my life, and I will allow the pain to push me to greatness. You will not break me. You will not stop me. You will not defeat me. The only way I lose is if I quit. It's going to be a dog fight. And so if you're ready to quit, then don't get started. If you're ready to quit, don't get started. If you're looking for this easy path, don't get started. If you think they're not going to close the door on you and say no 1,000,000 times, don't get started. But every time they close the door, I just get excited. Why? Because I am not a no. I'm one yes away.
I know that it can be very, very frustrating to try and become disciplined. And I apologize that I haven't talked about the fact of what to do if you come from an undisciplined family or you have undisciplined parents. I haven't really talked about what to do in that situation, but there's a reason that I haven't talked about that before, and that is because you don't get discipline from your parents. You don't get discipline from your parents, from your grandparents, from your older brothers and sisters. You don't get discipline from an external source. You have to get it from you. That's what self-discipline is. You get it from yourself. You get it from you. So there's people from every possible background, from no parents to crazy parents to drug addicted parents to super squared away parents, and everywhere in between on that spectrum that are completely disciplined people. More disciplined than anyone I know.
I'm young, I'm one yes away. You can't keep telling me no forever. You can't keep denying me forever. This type of energy, this type of passion, you can't stop it. You can contain it for a while, but you cannot stop. This is life. And you can't defeat me. There is not, you don't have enough power. You don't have enough energy. You don't have enough strength to stop this. Contain it for a year, you might. 2 years, you might. You do not have hate, does not have enough energy to destroy love. You cannot destroy this. And so I'm telling you today, it's going to be a dogfight.
Every day I'm chasing something different. Every day the way I operate is totally different, and it's not about the product for me as much as it is about the process. And what I mean about the process saved my life. You see, my mother had me when she was 15 years old, right? Over on the east side of Atlanta, we came up in this neighborhood by the name of Kirkwood, drug dealer on every corner, gang members in the neighborhood, 2-bedroom home, 14 people, used to sleep on the floor. Got the opportunity to sleep in the bed one time out of the week. There was 6 of us in the bed, 3 at the foot, 3 at the head. And I came up with this dream pretty quick. I said, man, I want to go to the NFL because I had 8 uncles in that house, all 8 of which are still going in and out of prison. And so pretty quick, I said, man, I want to go to the NFL. So I went to my big cousin Tamar one night. I said, man, listen, I want to go to the NFL. So we got to work for this thing. So the thing we're going to do every night, we're going to be patient. We're going to engage in consistent action. Every night, we're going to race light pole to light pole, no shoes. So every night we would get out in the street, race light pole to light pole. One night, a coach came down the street, He signed me and my cousins up for organized sports, right? First time being in organized sports. We get in organized sports. The thing was, after practice, everybody would leave to go home. And I always had to sit on the bench and wait on my mother because she worked that way.
It doesn't come from your parents. You don't inherit it. And there's another piece here. It's called ownership, right? It's called ownership. And if you want to blame other people for the problem, and I say this all the time, if you don't take ownership of the problem's not going to get solved. So if you blame your parents for not having raised you in a disciplined environment, you're not going to solve that problem. You're looking at your parents saying, if you would have done a better job being more disciplined for me, I would be more disciplined now. So that means you can't do anything. The fact of the matter is it's wrong. You actually can do something. And it doesn't matter how your parents raised you and brought you up. You can have the discipline you need to decide to do it. So as long as you're blaming other people, I mean, if you blame me for not discussing it, you blame me for having zero idea what that experience is like, you blame your parents for not raising you this way, as long as you're blaming other people, as long as you're counting on other people to give you discipline, as long as you do that, you will not have it.
And so when my mother would show up in the park, it would be about 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. So I'm sitting there, and when my mother would pull up, she drove an old Buick Regal, hubcaps off the car, seats torn up, the car was all beat up. And she would pull up in the park 10:30 at night. I would jump off the bench, I would sprint over to my mother, I would say, Mom, if you don't mind, can you please sit back in your car and turn on your car lights? I have to do some extra drills, I have to go to the NFL, so you would never have to work another day in your life. And I knew my mother was tired. And every night, my mother would sit back in that car, and those car lights would hit that field, and he had a 7-year-old kid doing backpedaling drills, running sprints, running laps, chasing his dream to go to the NFL. But just beyond those car lights, I could always connect with my mother's eyes, so it made me dig a little bit deeper. It made me push myself a little bit further. It made me work a little bit harder. It created a certain level of sweat equity in what I was doing. It created a certain level of pride in what I was doing. You know why people quit? People don't have pride in what they do. You know why people stop? They're selfish, and it's just about them.
It takes courage to let things go. Things that hurt you, things that wounded you, things that made you bleed, things that where you suffered loss, promotions you didn't get, houses you lost, men who left, women who betrayed you. It takes courage to let it go. You have to have enough faith to believe that what is in front of you is greater than what was behind you. If you don't learn how to forgive, you cannot live, you cannot thrive, you cannot move forward, and you will always suffer. You will always suffer. But if that thing is still living in your head, it's going to still be living in your life. If you're still bitter in your head, you're going to be bitter in your life. You got to determine, do you want to embrace your destiny, or do you want to flutter on the ground in your history? This is a decision only you can make. You will have to make a decision. If you want more in the second half of your life than what you had in the first half of your life, then you're going to have to let the first half go.
Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. See, your unwillingness to forgive another person is like you sipping the poison, waiting on them to die. You can't sip the poison of unforgiveness and expect them to die.
If you don't learn how to forgive, you cannot live. You cannot thrive, you cannot move forward, and you will always suffer.
Forgive any relationship that you ever had that didn't work out. Forgive everybody else. Forgive everyone else in your life that has ever hurt you in any way. Every past childhood slight, every sibling, every person in your family, every person you ever worked for, every lousy boss or person who cheated you, lied to you, robbed you, and everything else, and so on. I mean, just let it go.
I think for myself, And I know many of you think forgiving means accepting what has happened to you. Well, it is accepting that it has happened to you. Not accepting that it was okay for it to happen. It is accepting that it has happened, and now what do I do about it? Forgiving is giving up the hope, not holding on, hoping, wishing that it could have been any other way than it actually was. Giving up the hope that the past could be any different. And when I got that, I think it took me to the next level of being a better person, because I don't hold grudges for anything or any situation, and neither should you. It's letting go so that the past does not hold you prisoner, does not hold you hostage.
I cannot step into the future and still think in my past. I cannot let the rumors and the stain of what they said about me destroy my opportunity.
Forgiveness of yourself and of others will release you from the prison of the past. Thoughts of bitterness cannot create joy. No matter how justified you feel you are, no matter what they did, if you insist on holding on to the past, then you will never be free. Forgiveness is a tricky and confusing concept for many people. There is a difference between forgiveness and acceptance. Forgiving someone does not mean that you condone their behavior. It really has nothing to do with the other person. The reality of true forgiveness lies in setting ourselves free from holding on to the pain. When you do not flow freely with life in the present moment, it usually means you are holding on to a past moment. Only in the present moment can you create your future. If you are holding on to the past, you cannot be in the present. It is only in this now moment that your thoughts and words are powerful. So you really don't want to waste your current thoughts to continue to create your future from the garbage of the past.
You can't drive your car looking in the rearview mirror. If you keep looking in the rearview mirror, you're going to keep crashing your car. There's a reason why the rearview mirror is this big and the windshield is this big. The windshield is your future. It's where you're going. It's where you're headed. If you got someone who you feel has wronged you and you carrying that, that's like a cancer. And all it's doing is eating away at you.
Unforgiveness does not hurt your enemy, it hurts you. For you to be unforgiving is like you drinking poison and waiting on him to die.
You know how many people I just let go so I could just go where God had for me? Look, man, if you got something that's been bothering you in your life, get past it.
You cannot go into a new season if you're always looking back at the old. Quit putting energy into negative things of the past. The way to get past it is you have to starve it. Quit thinking about what you didn't get, how you can prove to them that they shouldn't have left you. If you will put that same energy into your destiny, expecting God's favor, then God will give you beauty for those ashes. You don't have to pay anybody back. God will be your vindicator. You cannot get well if you're always reopening the wounds. That's making it worse.
You can never be free of bitterness as long as you continue to think unforgiving thoughts. How can you be happy in this moment if you continue to choose to think angry and resentful thoughts? Thoughts of bitterness cannot create joy. No matter how justified you feel you are, no matter what they did, if you insist on holding on to the past, then you will never be free. Forgiveness of yourself and of others will release you from the prison of the past.
So don't keep beating yourself up, all right? Just let yourself go. Let yourself off the hook. And when you let it all go, it's almost like a huge burden off your back. You just forgive everybody and you forgive everything, and on a go-forward basis, you just forgive everybody. You don't have any negativities at all. No negativity toward anybody. You're just a positive person. And if you'll do that, if you accept responsibility, like yourself, and forgive everyone else, you become a truly superior person.
So, this is what I want to ask you to ask yourself. Do you want to be right, or do you want peace? Woo! This was huge for me. The unfortunate fact is that having both may not be possible. And also, you may never get your moment of righteousness, so why wait for it? Choose peace. What I know for sure is that in this world, time is a moving on, and it's our most valuable commodity. You can never get it back. So staying in that loop, playing it over and over in your head of hurt, only amplifies your pain. Let it go. Exhale, make room in your heart for something that is uplifting. Surround yourself with people who want the best for you. You have the ability to shift the DNA of your spirit and control how you perceive life. So why not lighten your load and let it go?
How many times have you said that you were going to leave something or someone, and you always followed the same path? How many times have you said the same thing, and countless times done the opposite? That is exactly what you have to stop doing. But clearly, you know what you should change, but you don't want to. Leave behind what hurts you and move on. That involves toxic partners, harmful habits, people or friends who hurt you, among many others. In fact, there are parts of yourself that are harmful to you. What kind of things? Those that you still keep and do not leave behind. A poor diet, unnecessary anger and resentment, jealousy towards other people, a lot of anger. If you stopped seeing the problems of others, maybe you would realize your own shortcomings. Implement big changes in your life, which involve only you, no one else. You will see great changes when you govern yourself and control what happens in your own life. Do not be that type of person who lets himself be controlled by the environment. You have to be the person who takes control of his life and follows his dreams and aspirations. No one can and has the right to control or manipulate you in any way, not even the person you love. If the opposite happens, remember, let go and move on. Life is too short to be suffering and crying for someone who doesn't respect you, for someone who makes you suffer sometimes for no specific reason, who sometimes only does it to make you suffer. I ask you something, are those moments really worth it? Are you really willing to waste a considerable portion of your time and your mental health in suffering? And let's say you don't suffer for something real. You suffer because someone wants to provoke those feelings, which makes it a real waste of time. Don't let that happen at any point. Do not forget to focus on your own well-being. Play sports and keep your mental stability safe, because despite what society thinks, it is tremendously important, since it is the engine of your life, your way of thinking, and what you will do to make the smartest decisions. If your physical, mental, and sentimental stability are weak, make all the efforts in the world to reverse them, and keep that triangle stabilized. I assure you that your life will be great when you solve these problems. Imagine a situation. A person gives you little hints, a weekend every day. You clearly don't feel any pain, and to some extent it doesn't even bother you. Now, imagine that a person gives you those blows every day, one blow a day. I assure you that there will come a time when you will get fed up and you will say enough. That's why you don't have to let that day pass, that small problems go on for years until you gather courage and leave everything behind. Learn to leave things in due time. And if you don't want to, at least set clear limits and let the other person know that you don't like them doing that to you. If it happens that he continues to do so, I should not tell you what to do, because you already know the answer. Remember, let go and move on. Sit down for a moment and think about what you should do, what bothers you, and what makes you feel bad, and organize a strategy to improve your life, and leave everything behind that makes you feel bad, including people and bad habits. Value yourself, because no one else will do it for you.
How many of you have somebody come up and say, boy, your kid's really growing? You go, really? Because you're so close to them, you don't notice it as much. How many found that to be true? Guess what? It's even worse with yourself. Sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for the amount that we're growing, but I'll tell you one thing, if you keep a journal, it won't be hard to see how much you're growing. Because you'll see the kind of goals you had back then, the kind of things you thought back in those days. And you'll begin to see the evolution of your growth. Also, I personally believe that if life's worth living, it's worth recording. And it's an incredible gift to give to your children, because someday they get to know exactly how you were at different times in your life, and they get to learn your lessons without having to go through it. So I highly encourage you to do that, but as a very minimum, let's make sure we take notes. You guys ready to crank? Yeah. Crank, let's do it. So this whole weekend is about connecting and communication. Really, it's about communication and relationship, how to make everything more worthwhile. And the technology that we're going to share with you this weekend has a unique name. We call it reality bridging. Reality bridging. I'm going to make you go into a deep trance trying to figure out what that means, right? We're going to clarify it for you. But reality bridging, it's the technology of vital communication and true freedom. Because what you're going to find is, you're going to find there's going to be a vitality in your communication when you start using the techniques we're going to teach you. And there's going to be a sense of absolute freedom where you can share with somebody what your real feelings are and never ever offend them. They won't have to hear you and cry and feel bad. And you won't feel so bad either. We want to make sure that communication is vital, that you're always connecting, that you feel good when you're communicating, so does the person you're communicating with, and it produces results. That's our outcome. And to be able to do that without having to worry creates an unbelievable level of freedom for people. Because how many of you, be honest, have felt feelings at times and you were upset, but you didn't share it because you didn't know how, or you didn't share it because, well, you thought, well, maybe it's really about me, or you didn't share it because you didn't want to offend somebody even though you were mad or upset. How many of you have had that experience in the past? And when you don't share something, what happens when you just keep it inside and build it up? Yeah, it festers. Does it get better or worse? It gets a lot worse, and eventually what happens, then you blow up about something that could have been handled so much easier along the way. But then there's the other approach, which is you're looking for things on a regular basis to be able to give people feedback about. And some people develop that habit, or you communicate in a way where basically you're communicating your feelings, like you're upset, but do you always have all the information? No. And so you're making a decision about how to feel based on false information. How many of you have ever gotten upset and later on felt a little dumb because you found out you were upset about something really shouldn't have been upset about? So one philosophy says, keep it inside. The other philosophy says, well, get it out. Well, what if you get it out and then you find out you were wrong? By the way, do we like being wrong? No. So then what would we probably do? Justify, defend? Well, yeah, I didn't know that, but if you've done that before, and that does not make a relationship work. Plus, that person gets upset. It's kind of like, anybody ever come up to you and say, why are you upset? And you go, I'm not upset. You go, no, yeah, you are. You go, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. Well, I'm getting upset. Okay, that also happens unless we're really clear. So what we're really going to do is we're going to start our whole basis of studying of communication to remember one thing, and write this in your notes if you would. And that is, the quality of your life is directly related to the quality of your communication. The quality of your life is the quality of your communication, period. Quality of your life is the quality of your communication. Now, pretty basic idea, nothing earth-shattering, but I'm here to tell you that's your entire life comes down to this. The quality of your entire life comes down to the quality of how you communicate. With whom? No. With whom first do you think it determines how you... That's right. The quality of your life starts with the quality of how you communicate to yourself. That's where it all starts. How you feel
is not based on the environment. Is it based, like how you feel? Is that determined based on like whether or not you have lots of money? Yes or no? I get a little mixed reaction on that. They go, well, no, it's not. No, absolutely not. No. How's that for incongruent communication from a lot of you? Right? Okay, some of you have a little mixed feelings about this, don't you? Let me ask you a question. How many of you know somebody who has tons of money and is still not happy?
I mean, look, the fears and doubts are a part of it. Can I be honest with you? Everything I've ever done started with a fear. My walking out on stage, that starts with the fear. When Oprah came and got me for this life class, I told her, I said, boy, this is like a stand-up appearance for me. I'm back there sweating. I don't want to talk to nobody. I have to overcome fear all the time. When I wrote my book, I was afraid. When they told me we wanted you to be a game show host, I'd never done that. I was afraid. When they said, we want you to do a talk show, I was afraid. I have to overcome fear all the time. But the best way for me to overcome fear is the dream has to be bigger than the fear. That's the only way you turn around and run at it. I just want so great. I aim for stuff so big that the dream bigger than the fear. Look at it like this. If you don't ever go, would it be better for you to face the fear, deal with the fact that you just never
face it? Definitely.
See, that's what the dream. And I saw you with your tie on. I know that makeup mirror, that's backstage somewhere in a dressing. Somebody's hiring guys like, there's no such thing as too old. I'm 57. If I went back out there, I'd get hired tomorrow as a stand. If you're funny, there's a marketplace for you. Now, look, you got to
start where you are, right?
Just
start where you are.
You don't worry, man. Where you at? Now, don't stop paying the house note and stuff.
Okay, so let's go through it. You have to know your gift. Do you think you're gifted at this?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. And then you have to be clear about your vision.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then surround yourself with other dreamers. Let's talk about that.
You know, if you don't surround yourself with others, here's what I know. If 9 of your are broke, you're going to be the 10th. That's it. If 7 of your friends smoke, you're going to be number 8. If you stay with that circle, you've got to surround yourself with like-minded people. See, stop telling your big dreams to small-minded people. Take yourself. Look, you're talking to me. You're 52, I'm 57. I'm a stand-up comedian, been one for 30 years. It's a natural thing for me. I would talk to people who are in the biz, talk to people who are doing it. Don't let your age define you.
Your current skill set has already taken you as far as it's going to take you. If you don't put yourself on a path to learn and very aggressively, where you are now is where you'll be in 5 years. The key is crossing that chasm of skill set.
We're all afraid of not reaching our potential, of never becoming the person we know we were meant to be. We fear being left behind at our job. We fear never being worthy of love. We fear being stupid or emotionally weak. We fear not having enough followers and friends. We fear waking up one morning and realizing our best is already behind us. Or worse, our best was never very good to begin with.
Remember, you're an adaptation machine. Your job is to place yourself under stress and then force yourself to grow. So back to Mr. Yoked, you don't get those muscles by looking at the weights. You get those muscles by going under the weight and not stopping when it hurts. You stop when you can no longer recruit the muscles enough to move the weight. That's when you're done. Your job is to push yourself to the limit of what you think you're capable of and then go past that. And when you're able to push yourself past that, when you're able to get into the Goggins reps, as I call it, when you're able to exist in that zone, long past where it started hurting, long past when it got boring, long past when you were terrified that you'd never be able to do it, that's when you'll begin to adapt because you're telling your body, adapt or die. That's how you're going to get where you want to go.
Nobody wins the Nobel Peace Prize or writes a bestseller or even lifts a barbell at the gym without feeling hopelessly incapable at some point. The reason they feel incapable? Because they are. The skills that they've developed do not yet match up with the skills they need to be successful. What separates these people that achieve these seemingly impossible goals is that they do not see their incapabilities as obstacles. They see them as opportunities.
Wash your face. Wash your face is a significant issue because it means literally don't let your past affect your present. Wash your face means wash everything off you that you collected along your journey and prepare yourself for where you're going. Wash your past off of you so that it doesn't pollute your present. You'd be surprised at the people who have ruined where they are with where they came from.
See, the problem with some of y'all, you can never reach forward because you're too busy looking at the past. You're still trying to figure out who did what they did, how they did it, when they said it, why did this happen to you. You got to forget about it. It's over. Ain't nothing you can do about it. It's history. You can't change the past. You can't do anything about yesterday. The only thing you can do something about is tomorrow, and you need to be spending the day doing something about what's going to make tomorrow different.
You can sit across the table to interview them, and when you start interviewing them, they start talking about what they went through and what they went through on the last job. They just wasn't ready for me, and they just didn't understand my gifting and the person of my color. And after a while, you can see bitterness. And the whole problem is, regardless of whether they went through a bad experience or not, they've never washed their face. And you're not ready for what God is about to give you now because you're still polluted with what you went through then. You'd be surprised at the people who are married to 2 or 3 people, not legally, but mentally and emotionally. You're with Fred, but you're still angry about Jimmy. And you got an attitude about Willie, and now you're with Fred, treating him like he might be Willie. And just in case you haven't, Jimmy used to do that, and you're ruining your present because your past is still active in your life. The old woman taught the young girl, before you go any further, wash your face. I shouldn't be able to look at you and see your past on your face. Wash it off you. You can't go forward until you wash the past off you.
Forgetting those things which are behind.
I don't care how long it takes, if it takes laying on the altar, if it takes 6 months, if it takes 6 years, you cannot go forward until you wash your face. You're not ready for Boaz until you wash your face. You got too much stuff on you from yesterday. You must wash your face.
Somebody say reaching forward. That word reach means to stretch for the future. It's a stretching.
Clinging issues from the past. Residue that we can readily detect. It is possible to be delivered from something and still not wash the effects of it out of your lifestyle. I don't care what you got to do to wash your face until people can no longer look at you and determine what you were before. You'd be surprised at the people who can't figure out why their life is being polluted. They've actually been delivered. They've actually gone on in their life, but they fail to wash from their face where they came from, and they look like where they were, and so they're still penalized as if they were where they were. Even though they've come up higher, they didn't wash their face. You got to wash your past off of you, or you will forfeit your opportunity to go forward. And you'll be angry at people and upset at people, but people wouldn't be talking about you if you would just wash your face. You can't go to the bed of Boaz looking like a Moabite.
So your big problem is you want to stay in the level of comfort. And God's word is to tell you today, he's going to put you in situations and environment that you're not going to be comfortable. Somebody tell your neighbor, I might not be comfortable now, but I can get comfortable. I might not have been down this road before, but I can come down here enough times to where I know where the turns are and what to do and how to make it. But you got to look ahead. Somebody say, look ahead. Say it one more time, look ahead.
Isn't it amazing how God's will and purpose will take you to places that if you're not prepared for, you will keep losing them and not know why? Because nobody has the nerve to look you in the eye and tell you face to face, you need to wash your face. Education doesn't fix this. You can go to the university and have more degrees than a thermometer and still talk like a hook. You had the academics, you had the intellect, you had the ability, you had the school loan, you had the tenacity, you did everything. You got the degree. You're in the upper echelon. You're moving amongst certain people of influence and affluence, but you're not able to handle it because you never wash your face. You might as well be in the back of a trailer over in the project somewhere, spitting watermelon seeds over your grandmama's back porch, because for all of your training and education, you never did wash your face and prepare yourself for where you are now, and you're trying to change the whole system to fit you when you have to fit the situation. Everything's not going to change for you. You've got to, oh God, who am I talking to today?
What am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you, if you stretch and reach for what you want to do, if you reach out for it, and if you have a mentality to press for it, you can get whatever it is you want to do.
Because if you don't start changing your attitude, you will miss your altitude. God will want to take you up, but your attitude will keep pulling you back down. Oh, you're not ready for this. How many times have you been approached by a sales clerk who couldn't sell you anything because they had a bad attitude? Somebody else walked up to you and sold it to you and you bought it with the quickness because they knew how to approach you. Don't think that it's all about the product. It's about the personality too. If you got a personality, God will bless you.
Somebody said you got to forget some things. And sometimes it means you got to forget some people.
A person who can forgive nothing is a person who's totally destroyed psychologically and emotionally.
Yes, that's the story of two monks on a pilgrimage, and they come across, in a village, they come across a young 17-year-old girl with a long kimono trying to cross a very muddy road, but she's not daring to step into the mud. So one monk picks her up, carries her across the road through the mud, puts her down, and so the monks walk on in silence for another 4 or 5 hours, just practicing noble silence. And then after 4 or 5 hours, they're getting close to their destination. One monk says to the monk who had picked up the girl, "Oh, you know, you shouldn't have done that because we monks are not supposed even to touch women. So you shouldn't have picked up that girl. You're not supposed to do that." And the other monk says, "Oh, are you still carrying that girl? I put her down hours ago." So the other monk was still carrying the girl, the event, in his head.
4 hours later.
For 4 hours, he was walking with this burden.
Yes, right.
And that shows the reluctance of the human mind to let go of the past.
Forgive any relationship that you ever had that didn't work out. Now this is hard because it's so personal and it's so painful. If you then forgive every previous relationship, you accept that you were at least partially responsible for getting into the relationship. You were definitely responsible for staying in the relationship. You just say, I am responsible, I am responsible, I am responsible. I bless them and let them go. And just let it go. Because in letting them go, you set yourself free. By not letting them go, you're keeping yourself in prison, in an emotional prison.
Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be any different. I think for myself, and I know many of you, you think forgiving means accepting what has happened to you. Well, it is accepting that it has happened to you. Not accepting that it was okay for it to happen. It is accepting that it has happened, and now what do I do about it? Forgiving is giving up the hope, not holding on, hoping, wishing that it could have been any other way than it actually was. Giving up the hope that the past could be any different. And when I got that, I think it took me to the next level of being a better person, because I don't hold grudges for anything or any situation, and neither should you. It's letting go so that the past does not hold you prisoner, does not hold you hostage.